Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Pave Your Path to Paid Search Success, 6 Fundamental Skills Every Advertiser Needs. My name is Michelle, and I'm just here to get things started before passing things off to today's expert. So first off, for those of you who may not be overly familiar with WordStream, we provide tons of resources for people to get started and stay successful in paid search advertising. We've got lots of free tools as well as a really great software platform to help everybody in any range maximize their profits from paid search advertising. So definitely check us out following today's webinar and see what we're all about. And then a couple of logistics just before we get into today's content. A recorded version of the webinar as well as the slide deck will be distributed via email following the webinar, so look out for that and feel free to share it with your colleagues and your teammates and let them know what you learned today. Also, we encourage you to be social. You can join in the conversation on Twitter. There's today's presenter's handle right there, my good friend Mark. And finally, really important is we're here to help you all as best as we can. So definitely submit your questions throughout the webinar. You can do so right in that questions box, and we will definitely save time to get to those before we close out today. So my favorite part of any webinar is getting to introduce my friend Mark. Mark is a senior data scientist here at WordStream. He's got more than 5 years in paid search experience, voted the 14th most influential PPC expert of 2016, and he is the most knowledgeable guy I know in this topic. So you all are in very good hands, and he is going to teach you a lot. So without further ado, Mark, take it away.
Thanks, Michelle. So guys, today we're going to talk about paid search. It's obviously something near and dear to my heart because I've been doing it for the past 5 years. But one of the things I do here is I teach paid search to all of our new hires, as well as manage our ongoing education program to all of our existing reps. So regardless of whether or not this is something that you're brand new to or you're looking to refine your skills for, please hop in that question. I hope that hop those questions in that box. I hope that all of this is useful to all of you. But so if we start at the very beginning, once you identify the fact, once your customers identify the fact of they want to buy a product or they're on the hunt, they're in market for a thing, it's very likely that they're going to turn to a search engine, such as Google or Bing or Yahoo or something. And when you arrive at a search engine, the very first thing they're going to do is they're going to type in a text into that search bar. And so that text that a user enters is called either a search term or a search query. I may use those two words interchangeably, but it just means the word that they typed into Google. And then when we hit enter, they're going to see a page that looks like this. And so Google loads in a fraction of a second this search engine results page. And I'm going to call it the SERP. Just stands for search engine results page. Something we do too often in the industry is we abbreviate things and then forget that we abbreviate them. So if I call it the SERP, know that I'm just speaking about this page that Google loads. But what's really interesting, in that fraction of a second, that Google in fact loads two pages or two different parts of this page in that fraction of a second from two different engines altogether. And so there is a part of Google that loads the paid search ads and a separate part that does not talk to that part that manages the organic results. And in that fraction of a second, it looks like that page loads very seamlessly, but it's two entirely different engines that run this. And so that division is that you'll very often see the paid search ads at the very top and the very bottom of the SERP for that query. And the organic results are found in between. They're sandwiched in between. And we're specifically, today, I really just want to spend a lot of time talking about the paid search ads. But this often begets a new question. There's always an ongoing argument in the industry of which is better or which is a better thing to do, paid search or SEO. And different players and different people, and depending on your experience with those two, you're going to see different results. But it might surprise you guys if you ask me, which is more important, or what's a better use of your time? WordStream, even though we exclusively sell those paid search services, we don't ignore SEO. And so if you were to look at our marketing team is a fairly large team, and we have 4 people in-house who spend their time 40 hours a week. That comes to about 120 hours a week, all said and done, managing just the SEO. Whereas we have one person who spends roughly half of their time, 20 hours a week, managing our paid search results. So we do really value the organic stuff. In fact, if you look at our website and you look at the growth of our website over the past 6 years, you see the fact that a lot of that is driven here by the SEO, that organic traffic here highlighted in orange. Makes about 2/3 of our traffic over the past 6 years is just that organic traffic coming to our site. But that was a fairly slow growth. That took us 6 years and 4 people managing it full-time in-house. We know that the kinds of content that does well on Google, in order for Google to show any organic results, it requires that particular page to have at least 1,700 words attached to it. And if you think of the time that takes for you or a copywriter to write 1,700 words, that's roughly about 10 pages of text. That's a good amount of time. That's in minimum. I'm not an author or a writer or anything, but that would take me a solid day and a half. And that best performing content is that longer form content, minimum of about 2,000 words to be at the very top of the page. And so when we look at different types of content and the amount of time it takes to write it, we see that SEO content does really well when it's about 2,000 words long or longer. We see that the best performing social content, the stuff that does well on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, that content most typically is even a longer form content of 3,000 words plus. But when we compare that to the best performing paid search ad, our best performing paid search ad is at most going to be 140 characters. Every single paid search ad we write, regardless of whether or not it is at the very top or the very bottom of the paid search results, you'll see the fact that it is this kind of ad format, and that is going to be at most 140 characters. And that's something that you can write in a couple of, well, I say a couple of minutes, but really you could write it in a couple of seconds if you had to. And paid search ads, because they often sit at the top of the SERP, you'll also be surprised at how much traffic they can drive. For a query that's very commercial, such as black strappy high heel shoes size 5, you're going to see a lot of results at the very top of the search. And that most of the clicks from a query such as this, about 64.6% of all queries for a commercial search like this are going to go to the paid results at the very top. And much less of it, about 1/3 of all the traffic, is going to go to that organic results. So when we talk about the benefits of paid search, it can get you on Google appreciably faster than the organic result. It does not take you 6 years to really grow your business with paid search. It will take less time and effort to manage than organic. Writing that 140 character ad is appreciably easier than writing a 10-page or a 20-page article about your content. And because it's at the top of the page, it can often yield more traffic than just that organic traffic alone. So there's a lot of benefits to doing paid search in itself, and that doesn't necessarily come at the expense of doing organic. But the downside of paid search is, of course, the fact that it's called paid search, and it costs money. And so Google as a whole, this is Google's entire business, or effectively Google's entire business. Google is first and foremost an advertising platform before it is anything else. 97% of all Google's revenue comes from advertising, most of it from this paid search advertising. So when we think about all the things Google is doing in terms of the Android platform and Gmail and the self-driving cars and Chrome and Chromebook and all of that stuff that Google is out there famously doing, that accounts for about 3% of all of Google's revenue. That Google's big business are these paid search ads. And so how much money does this cost? Well, every single time Google has a different search, it holds an auction with all of its advertisers. And advertisers set a bid that they're willing to pay for each click that comes to their website. So advertisers are in complete control over how much this costs them. They can set a high bid if that traffic's particularly valuable to them, or a low bid if it's less valuable to them. But Google isn't just here to make money. That they know that user experience is important, that they want to make sure that they're always providing good organic results and good paid search results to the end user so that people continue to trust Google's results. So Google gives us a metric called quality score as well. That helps amplify our bid. If we had a good quality score, we would effectively no longer need to bid as much for our traffic. And we could get a lot more traffic a lot less expensively. And so Google takes those two metrics, our quality score and our bid, and it places an auction. And then at the end of the day, or at the end of that auction, Google literally ranks who did the best in that auction. And that advertiser who did the best in the auction gets that very top spot of the SERP. So this vividseats.com did the very best for this particular search, and now they're at the very top spot of the SERP very easily. So immediately below them is their second place winner, StubHub.com. TD Garden got the third best. Ticketsnow.com got the fourth best. So Google literally ranks people based off of how well they did in the auction and gives them the best spots accordingly. Now, the cool thing about paid search is that it's a pay-per-click platform. So if it doesn't hurt us to show our ad, we can show our ad as many times as we want. But at the end of the day, we're only going to pay whenever someone engages with our ad, whenever we get someone to our site. So if I were to click on the vividseats.com ad, then vividseats.com would pay Google with relation to how much they paid for that traffic. But the StubHub, TD Garden, Tickets Now, those people, if no one clicks on their ad, they're free to continue to show. There's no cost to them until you actually start driving traffic to your website. And then, so after you clicked on the site, after you clicked on that ad, you're going to arrive at the site. And obviously, you have some kind of goal when you're getting people to your site. You might want them to buy something from you. Here, you might want them to buy Bruins tickets from you. But separately, you might want someone to fill out a form. You might want to have someone fill out a newsletter or subscribe to a newsletter or give you a call or something like that. And whenever someone completes an action on your site that you deem as a valuable action, you can count them as a conversion. And so counting them as a conversion allows us to see exactly whether or not our efforts are successful, whether or not I'm just paying to get traffic to my site, or whether or not I'm paying to drive leads or calls or conversions. And using this information, we have a lot of data in our AdWords accounts to really dictate where we should be focusing and where our money is best spent. But the important thing to know is that regardless of whether or not someone converts on your site, whether or not they did that thing you wanted them to do, you still pay for them every time they click on your ad. So one of the earliest and one of the most important lessons you'll learn in paid search is that not all traffic is worth paying for. And that's very different, or a different mindset than what a lot of organic traffic is. That if you're an SEO, you're very comfortable getting all the traffic to your site, and you're just interested in getting more people to your site because that just increases the likelihood people are going to do things. Once you start talking about paid traffic, once you start paying people to get to your site, it's very important that you're attracting the right type of traffic and you're paying the right amount for that type of traffic. So winning at paid search is about finding the right traffic at the right price. And there are lots of different ways for us to approach that. But the first, most simple way that we're going to do this is we're going to control what type of traffic arrives at our site by creating and managing different keywords. And so advertisers are going to decide what types of search terms they want their ads to show for by creating keywords. And so an advertiser who's looking to sell Bruins tickets very well might advertise on the keyword for Bruins tickets. And so in this case, the keyword matches the search exactly, and we call that an exact match. Exact match keywords are great if you know the exact words that someone is going to search for your traffic. But what exact match keywords won't do is they won't match to searches that contain or are similar to that keyword. So the exact match keyword Bruins tickets won't serve an ad to a lot of other relevant traffic for us. It won't get us traffic from Boston Bruins tickets because it includes the word Boston in there. It's not that exact term. Won't get us Bruins season tickets, Boston hockey tickets, Boston versus Senators tickets. All of that traffic would require us to use a different keyword. And it's totally possible. There's nothing wrong with us just creating a bunch of exact match keywords in our accounts and trying to think of every single term that people would want to search for us. So I could create a Boston Bruins tickets exact match keyword and a Boston season tickets exact match keyword and all of those exact match keywords. But you'll discover real quickly that that's still not going to be a comprehensive list. That Google handles 3.5 billion searches every single day. And 40% of all the searches that happen today are going to be searches that have never occurred in the history of Google before. So your options as a paid search manager are to either spend your days thinking of 3.5 billion different searches, including those all as keywords, or we have a couple of other match types to make that process appreciably less labor intensive. And so there are different keyword match types that are going to allow us to attract different types of traffic. The exact match keywords at the very bottom here are going to get us basically that exact traffic. It's just going to get when that keyword matches what the user is searching for. The phrase match is going to allow us to show an ad whenever a user is searching for a term that includes that keyword. So here, the phrase match bike shop will show an ad to someone searching for local bike shop. So it still has the words bike shop in it next to each other, but allows for additional words to be added at the beginning or the end of that search. The broad match modified allows us to serve an ad whenever all the words of our keyword are included. So the broad match modified plus bike plus shop allows us to show whenever someone searches for words terms that include the words bike and shop, although not necessarily in that order, and it allows additional words to appear in between. And the broad match is going to get us basically all of our reach. That it will show an ad whenever that search is contextually similar to that keyword. So the broad match bike shop might show an ad for a cycle store or bike store or something, where there's that relationship contextually to what the person is searching for, but not the semantic relationship. And so we have this beautiful trade-off between the exact match, we know exactly the traffic it's going to get, but it's very limited. And this broad match, which is a much deeper reach, it's going to get us a lot more traffic, but we have a lot less control over what type of traffic. So keyword match types are a powerful thing, but as you play around with different keyword match types, you'll discover that the more you reach out to different types of traffic, a big problem that you're going to see is that not all of this traffic is going to be as relevant. So for instance, the phrase match for Bruins tickets, if I was trying to sell Boston Bruins hockey tickets and I was using that keyword, I do run the risk that I could serve an ad for someone searching for the UCLA Bruins because it has that semantic match. It includes the word Bruins tickets in it, but additional queries tell me that this isn't as relevant. And that's kind of a problem when we start thinking about paid search, because if someone clicks on my Bruins tickets ad, but they were searching for a different type of Bruins tickets, and I can't sell them that, I'm still charged for that traffic regardless, and I know that they're not going to be able to buy that product I'm selling. And so that's obviously a problem in the paid search world. But we have a way around this. We can go in and we can introduce negative keywords to deter some of this irrelevant traffic. And so if I were to go in and create the keyword Bruins tickets, but also create the negative keyword UCLA, I would prevent myself from serving whenever someone searched for anything that included the phrase UCLA. And so I would no longer serve an ad to UCLA Bruins. And that's really great if you know your business and you know your products and you know that there are semantic problems that you're going to run into earlier, that you know that the Bruins are a team in Boston, but they're also the Providence Bruins and the UCLA Bruins and a number of other small minor league teams or college teams or related products or services that you don't sell. If you know those things in advance, you can create them as negative keywords. But what you're likely going to discover is that as you run your paid search ads, you're going to see that there are going to be search terms that your ads already show for. And it's always good to go in and review these search terms so that you can identify opportunities for new negatives. And so this is free data. As you run these ads, Google has a responsibility to tell you what searches your ads are showing for. And you'll begin to see performance metrics around how frequently and how your ads perform on different types of searches. So I have this client, they do a lot of football camps for high school students and football recruiting and football scholarships for high schoolers, all of that stuff. And that's the product or service they provide. They're trying to drive leads to get a lot of high school athletes into college. But if we were to go through their search terms, we could pretty easily identify a good amount of traffic that appears and how we could get rid of it. So for instance, we see the word rankings appear a number of times. And I know that people who are searching for football rankings are likely just fans who are looking to see how their team is doing. They're unlikely to be sending their kid to a football camp or try to get a scholarship or something like that. So I would know that I'd want to add rankings as a negative keyword. Very similarly, I see UCLA football triggered my ads, as did FSU football. And it's very likely if you're searching for UCLA football or FSU football that you're not looking to get your kid into those programs. You're likely just looking for a schedule or how the team is doing or something along those lines. So I could go in pretty quickly, read all these search terms and identify what negatives I should be adding. And in doing so, here in this example, if I excluded rankings, UCLA, and FSU, just those three keywords, I would save my client about $500 a month here. And that's pretty powerful stuff just by going in and adding a couple of words into AdWords. But so as we get more traffic, we want to make sure we're controlling our costs. And we're going to do that by managing our bids. And so we run into this issue where at Google, at any point in time, I can go in and I can adjust my bid. And I can either increase my bids, which would mean that I would be in a better ad position. I'd be closer to the top of the page. I'd get more traffic. I'd likely get more conversions with that traffic. But when I increase my bids, I'm also going to pay more per click. I'm going to have a higher cost per click or a higher CPC. I'm going to spend more as I pay more and I get more traffic. And I'm likely going to also see that I have a higher cost per acquisition or a higher CPA. So as we begin to think about how we would bid on keywords, we would bid on keywords differently because we believe that traffic is going to be different due to the expected performance. So if I were bidding on, Bruins schedule, Bruins home schedule, Bruins tickets, and Bruins tickets on a date, and my goal is to sell Bruins tickets, I would likely want to bid more for Bruins tickets and Bruins tickets on a date than I would for someone who's searching for a schedule, because I believe that people who are searching for that are going to be more likely to convert. It's not that Bruins schedule is a bad keyword for me, or that it's something that I would want to add as a negative. It's just that traffic is likely worth less than someone who has a very clear game in mind or a goal in mind that they want to buy Bruins tickets. Very similarly, someone who is searching for Bruins tickets and Stanley Cup tickets, I'd want to bid more for Stanley Cup tickets because I believe I could sell those for a higher price. So I believe that that traffic is more valuable than someone who's just searching for an individual game. And so likely what's going to happen is you're going to create a list of keywords and you're going to assign them a unique bid, and you're going to begin to get data on how those keywords perform on your site. So if we knew that a lead was worth $25 to us, here, this client, that's their goal, to get that CPA of $25, we see that right now their account isn't there, that their CPA here is closer to $44, $44.60. That can be discouraging, but it's very easy to go in and fix. And at any point in time, we can go in and change the bid so that we can ensure that we hit our goal. And what we'd have to do is we'd want to be looking for keywords that had a good CPA. This first keyword, keyword A, has a CPA of $10. It's well below our target $25 CPA. And so what I want to do is I'd want to increase the bid for that particular keyword. Increasing the bid is going to have a ripple effect, where because I have an increased bid, I'm going to have a better ad position. I'm going to move closer to the top of the SERP. And when I move closer to the top of the SERP, I'm going to get more traffic and I'm going to get more conversions. Now, of course, when I get more traffic, I'm going to pay more for that traffic and I'm going to increase the CPA of that individual keyword. But even here at $20 as opposed to 10, that's well within my target, it was well within my goal, and I'm happy to continue to do this. Very conversely, we'd be on the lookout for keywords with a high CPA. This $80 cost per conversion is well above our goal, and I'd want to do the exact opposite. I'd want to bid down on that particular bid. And so bidding down is going to have all the opposite effects. That for this particular keyword, I might find myself closer to the bottom of the page, and while that's unfortunate, it means I'm going to spend less on that particular keyword. And when we spend less on that particular keyword, I'm also going to lower my CPA. And so we see here, just by making 2 changes to the bids in this keyword set, I was able to drop my CPA, my cost per lead, from $44.60 down to $21.22. We were able to cut what we pay per lead in half just by making 2 strategic bid changes. And this is kind of what the life of a paid search advertiser is all about, is a lot of this comes down to going in, bidding, and adjusting your bidding as you're seeing performance shift. Now, I'd be remiss to say that you couldn't do all of that without algebra. I come from a very data-heavy background, so I'm always happy to share the math behind all of this. But effectively, you need to make sure that you're paying your cost per click is equal to the CPA you want times your conversion rate. So in that example back there, I knew that if when a keyword had a 2% conversion rate and I wanted to spend $25 per lead, I'd be needing to pay 50 cents per click on all of that. So once you get all of your bidding correct, once you feel comfortable, you're beginning to grow all of this stuff, there's a lot that we can do strategically by managing our visitors, controlling our visitors by managing our audiences. And so this is, I think, the biggest underutilized thing in AdWords, is that by default, unless you specifically change anything, all of your keywords are going to target everyone who's searching for that type of traffic. However, we can go in and we can adjust who sees our ads right on the SERP. And so we can cater our reach off of a couple of different factors. The first being remarketing audiences. So that's, we can control who sees our ads based off of things that they've done on our site in the past. So do we want to show ads to people who have been to our site in the past, or who have shopping cart abandoned, or purchased from us in the past? We can come up with different strategies for those different audiences. We can also consider demographics. such as the gender or the age of the person who's searching. And using these audiences, we have a couple of abilities where we can exclusively target that gender or that age or that remarketing audience, or we can exclude an audience from seeing our ad. We can very similarly adjust our bid and be more aggressively for that audience. And using these types of tools, we can go in and really think of different ways to reach our audience and be strategic, not just with our keywords and our bids, but with who's searching as well. And so fairly recently, I had clients, and they're a plastic surgeon. They're, of course, they're doing breast enlargement things, and they're bidding on the appropriate keywords for that. There's no problem having keywords. If what you do is breast enlargement, it's completely appropriate for you to be bidding on the keyword breast enlargement, and he was. However, if you stop and you think about that for a second, who is the key demographic for people who are trying to get breast enlargement? Typically women. Who is the key demographic for searching for large breasts online? And that's typically men. So, seeing that problem, my client was able to exclude men from his ads. And in doing so, he was able to prevent a lot of inappropriate searches from coming to his site. And in doing so, he also reduced his advertising spend by about 70% without excluding any of his customers. I had a florist, and this florist was advertising on keywords around same-day flower delivery. And this is appropriate that, hey, everyone searches for florists at some point in time, but what we know is that different demographics perform differently or react differently when they're searching for same-day flower delivery. What this client noticed is that men were appreciably more likely to buy quickly for the flowers. And I can say this as a man, that when I'm searching for same-day flower delivery, it's because I made a mistake and I'm looking to solve it now. He found that men, although a small audience to his website, converted appreciably better. So consequently, he now bids more aggressively for men who are searching for his services. He's still serving ads to women, but he's much closer to the top of the page for men because he sees that they're considerably more likely to convert on his site right away. Another client of mine does financial planning. And so he's on keywords around 401k management, retirement planning, all of that stuff. And that's something that, like, again, everyone does. But if you think along demographic lines, me searching for retirement planning at age 28 is very differently than my mother searching for retirement planning at age 60. That my mother is a much higher value customer to this client than myself. So what he does is he exclusively targets that older audience. He exclusively targets people aged 45 and above, knowing the fact that those are people who are much closer to retirement, are much more likely to be investing a lot more in their retirement than me at 28, putting a couple dollars here and there into it. So thinking about your audience, thinking about your customers, and thinking about your prospects, you know that it's more than just keywords that they're searching for, that these are real people and you can reach them accordingly. Very similarly with your remarketing audiences. This might not be something you think of very often, but a lot of services might require multiple visits to your website. Even something like, okay, you go to your site, you find that pair of shoes. If you don't buy it right away, you might come back a week or two after you've had time to look around. And you'll see that returning visitors will often convert about 50% better than a new audience, people who have never been to your site before. But very similarly, you can use remarketing to engage audiences like people who arrive at your site and abandon a shopping cart. Getting them back to your site is going to likely help them complete that purchase. Or past purchasers from you. are very likely to stay loyal to you. And if they come back and they're searching for shoes, then you can keep your ad at the very top of the page for them so that they can continue to find you and continue to convert with you. So this can be an upsell opportunity or re-engage past buyers as well. And now the more strategic stuff, controlling your strategy, you can be managing that within your campaign settings. And so AdWords, obviously, Google and the world is a large place, but there's a lot of things we can do within Google to get more specific to who might actually be purchasing from us. And so we know that if I was selling Bruins tickets, that not everyone who's searching for Bruins tickets is going to be worth the same. That kind of intent varies a lot based off of where you are. So I know that here in Boston, if you want to search for Bruins tickets, you're very likely going to be a Bruins fan. You're going to be much more likely to purchase than someone who's searching in Massachusetts or New Hampshire or Western Massachusetts, someone who's not necessarily as local as we are. But even that Massachusetts searcher or that Western Massachusetts searcher is appreciably more likely to buy that product than someone in Indiana or someone in India. And using this kind of information, we have the ability to either target or exclude regions as we see fit. That I might not want to serve my ads in India, even if they're searching for Bruins tickets, because I don't believe that they're going to purchase it from me. Whether or not I choose to serve my ads in Indiana is a different decision. Maybe I do, but I can also adjust my bids so I can bid less for that type of traffic as well, where I would still want to pay the most for Boston Bruins tickets in Boston, a search in Indiana, maybe a search in Western Massachusetts, maybe a little bit more. And we can think of those strategic decisions at the campaign level when it comes to location targeting. Very similarly, we can control when our ads run by creating an ad schedule. So if I'm a B2B business, I know that people who are searching for, let's say, IT help, they're going to be searching for that type of service 24 hours a day. But when do my customers search for it? If I think my customer set is B2B, I might only want to run Monday through Friday, or I might only want to run 9 to 5, or I might want to bid more during those working hours and bid less during those off hours, knowing the fact that they're more likely going to convert during those particular hours than during those off hours. All of this stuff is strategic decisions, and we can control all these strategic decisions at the campaign level. And finally, we can think about what devices we want to target people on. We know that, like in this room right now, I've got my phone in front of me as well as my computer. And so consequently, the intent I do with those two devices may differ dramatically depending on what I'm searching for. And so I can bid up or bid down or choose to not be on one of those particular devices altogether. And if I choose I don't want to serve my ads to a mobile user, either because my mobile site isn't responsive or because my I don't believe that that mobile audience is really ready to convert, I have the ability to exclude it from seeing my ads. So again, there's a lot of strategy that we can do at the campaign level within our accounts. And finally, we can use our search ads to provide more solutions by managing ad extensions. And so it's great if you go in and you find that your search ads are doing well, but it's never too late to make them better. And so that's what ad extensions are all about. Every single text ad we create, it's going to have the exact same format, but we can add ad extensions, include links, include the stars, include additional text for no additional cost. And that's the best part about this, is we can make all of our ads, we can extend our ads with ad extensions and allow them to answer more users' questions and solve more of our users' problems. They're 100% free to show, and we're just going to pay the same as if they clicked on the link or the extension as if they clicked on the headline. And so there are a number of different ways that we can use ad extensions to improve the quality of our ads. Call-out extensions, the safe and secure marketplace, secure and guaranteed, buy and sell tickets, all of that language just adds an extra line of text for us so we can talk more about our business. Structured snippets, again, types, tickets, e-tickets, instant download, provides an extra line of text so you can talk more about your product or service. Both of those, they're non-clickable, so they're completely free to show. There's no reason to not do them. Site links provide links to other pages of your site. So if I clicked on the headline here, I would go to Ticketmaster's Boston Bruins page. Whereas if I clicked on the shop NHL tickets, I'd likely go to a specific NHL page, or sell my tickets, which would take me to a different page to do something else. This is going to allow me to allow the user to self-select the most appropriate page to send it to. A location extension, we can add in our address, and then we can show that address to local searchers. So we can begin to send foot traffic to our physical brick and mortar store. Call extensions allow our user to click on a button, place the call, and talk directly to a human being or to an automatic machine so that we can begin to get that immediate lead information right away. We can literally create a call, create a hot lead from the SERP with a click of a button. Or a message extension allows that user to text someone instead. And so there's a lot that we can do in terms of optimizing, allowing people to select a more appropriate way for them to convert offline or online. An app extension allows users to download your app directly from the SERP. So if you have an app you're looking to promote, something that's particularly valuable to your business, you can use an app extension to send traffic to that app itself. Get people to download that new app, or if they've already downloaded, open it and begin to search within that app. And the sixth thing that I want to talk about today is I want to expand your reach by considering Bing. And so I know I was a huge skeptical of Bing when I first started in paid search. Obviously, I'm a big Google user. We're all big Google users. But it might be surprising to you to know how powerful Bing can be. Right now, today, Bing ads makes up a combined 35.2% of the US search market, which is appreciably larger than what most people think. That Bing manages Yahoo and AOL and DuckDuckGo and a number of other large search engines that they're all managed through Bing. So if you throw your ad on Bing, you have a lot of reach beyond just Bing.com. You have a lot of good partners in that mix with you. Whereas Google really only exists on Google.com. And so Google advertisers can scale their reach up to 50% just by including Bing and Yahoo in their media buy. And the Bing audience, of course, it's a different audience that's using Bing and Yahoo and all of that, but it typically skews older and more affluent. So we see that the median age of the US public is 37, whereas the median age of the Bing user is 45. Older also means more affluent, that here we see the median household income for Bing users is 75K. So there's a completely different audience on Bing, but depending on your business, you might find this particularly valuable audience that you want to get in front of. I know that typically we're all too happy to find more affluent audiences to reach. And so Bing isn't just Bing.com or Yahoo.com or all those other search engines. It includes your default browser. It's the default search engine within most Windows products, obviously, where Windows owns Bing. It's also the search engine of choice for Apple's Siri or Amazon's Echo or Cortana or any of those voice search devices that people use so often. And so because there are fewer advertisers on Bing, there's usually less competition, which means that advertisers on Bing can often get better positions and lower cost per clicks than they're used to on Google. Have a client that manages both their Google AdWords and Bing ads through us. And for the keyword payroll services, they pay about $12.50 a click and sit in a fairly low position on Google. Whereas on Bing, their costs are literally a third, and they sit near the top of the page. They sit in that position 3.5. So there's a lot of value to doing Bing if you're currently already doing Google, and that it opens up a fairly large, a surprisingly large world beyond just what Google can provide. And so, guys, thank you so much for listening to me today. Michelle, I believe we have a couple of offers.
We certainly do, absolutely. So while we get to the questions that came in, while Mark was presenting all that data, we do have a special offer for those who are on the line right now. As I said at the beginning of today's presentation, WordStream does have a platform that kind of automatically handles a lot of the bid management and different strategies that Mark was talking about today. So it really makes it easy for advertisers to manage their online advertising efforts. So I'm just going to go ahead and launch a poll right now. You can decide if you would like to chat with one of our AdWords certified experts like Mark. We have a full team of those here, and they would be happy to walk you through how our platform can help you manage your accounts and really optimize a lot of those strategies Mark was talking about. So there's the poll for you all. So definitely go ahead and click which one you're interested in. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to get to some of the questions that came in. So Mark, a lot of the questions kind of had a similar theme. So I'm just going to kind of theme them up for you, and hopefully that answers a lot of what was on our callers' minds today. So first question might be tough to answer, but about how much time should someone, an advertiser, be spending on managing their paid search efforts?
You know, that's a very interesting question. I obviously do this full time. And so I spend 40 hours a week looking through our clients' accounts doing that. But we actually, part of the benefit to our platform and our software is the fact that it's supposed to make life appreciably easier for our clients. Our flagship product is called the 20-minute work week. And it's going to focus on these 6 and a couple of other things that you need to focus on every single week to make sure that you're being successful. And people are able to do all of that through our product in about 20 minutes a week. So there's absolutely a lot of time savings there. But you'll see that as you go beyond that, as you play in our more advanced products, there's a lot that you can continue to give back, and you can always invest more into this. So I'd say the short answer is, if you're just starting off in paid search, try just get in it every single week, 20 minutes. But as you're looking to expand beyond that, invest a little bit more time in it, and it will grow.
Awesome. Another question might, again, be a little bit tough to answer, but you talked about SEO at the beginning and its relations to paid search. If someone's just getting started, where should they focus on first, paid search or SEO?
Yeah, and so this is something that I have a lot of friends in SEO. Whenever I go to a conference or I go to an event or I talk to new hires who have done SEO, or I talk to our marketing team who's doing SEO, every single second you're spending doing SEO or writing content or doing something like that, that's valuable time. And I'm not going to deny the fact that that's valuable time. Whereas paid search, a lot of that stuff is something that you can do quickly. So I'd always say that you should spend the bulk of your time. If you're someone who's managing both, spend most of your time, spend most of your labor doing SEO, and just focus on those, that 20, 30 minutes a week in paid search. Focus on the small things that are going to really move the needle in your paid search ads so that you have more time doing that SEO stuff.
Gotcha. Another question for someone who's just starting out. or maybe someone who's even a little bit more advanced, how do they decide if they should be managing their paid search and SEO in-house or if they should be using an agency to do this for them?
You know, where I work in an agency, I'm often biased in this, but I see a lot of success with people who manage things in-house. Obviously, you doing things yourself, you know your business best. So I'm as good as I am at paid search. I don't necessarily know what the retirement market will look like immediately, or I might not know exactly where your customers see themselves and exactly where you see yourself in the industry. And so that insight from you, where you're in your business every single day, might actually be more successful if you did things in-house. That one of the big things our software specifically tries to do is it tries to empower you to manage it yourself. Agencies obviously have their own perks that, like, I know the ins and outs and I know every little button in AdWords. And if you have a problem, I've probably run into it 3 or 4 times before and already know the solution to it. But that stuff kind of comes more down the line after you get your feet wet in paid search. That I'd say that right now, you likely know exactly how users search and how users find you. And I'd want you to control things yourself to start out. And then maybe down the line, once you've kind of plateaued, that's a good sign that you're ready for an agency.
Gotcha. And a question came in. So if somebody wanted to see what our software was all about, is there a way for them to try that? Or what would your recommendation be for someone who's interested but just kind of wants to explore our software?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that, we're all too happy. It doesn't cost us anything to set anyone up with a free trial. So either feel free to reach out to me after this webinar, or I can absolutely have one of our certified experts on our sales team set them up with a free trial. If you've just curious about how you're doing in paid search in general, there's a tool online that makes a lot of the functionality of our software very apparent and how it can help you. And so that tool, it's our AdWords Grader tool. It lives at wordstream.com/Google AdWords.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, great plug, Mark. Our AdWords Grader is something I usually mention at the beginning of webinars, and it totally slipped my mind, but awesome plug for that. You guys can definitely check that out. For anybody in paid search advertising, it's a really great way to check in on how your account is performing. And like Mark said, it highlights some areas that you could improve on to get higher return on investment there. Awesome. So we've got time for just one more question. It might be tough to answer, but I'm going to throw it at you anyway, Mark. So when we talk about setting a target bid, for example, in your example, your target bid was $25. Can you just share a little bit more insight on how you get to that target bid?
Sure. So in that example, that $25, that was the target cost per acquisition. So that's the target, how much you want to pay per lead, or how much you want to pay per someone to do something on your site. And I think that a lot of this is actually less of a paid search question. It's more of a business question. And so think about, different leads are going to have different values for different industries. That if I'm trying to sell shoes online, I might only be able to pay $2 or $3 per sale and on my marketing expenses to get someone to buy that shoe. And that's all variable on what my markup is and what my profit margins are. Versus if I were a defense attorney, I'd be willing to spend thousands of dollars on getting a client because it's a much more valuable product or service. So I find it very helpful when I'm talking to when I have clients who ask me this question, to not talk about, bids and CPA directly, but to instead talk to a CMO or a CFO of the company and ask how much a lead is worth to you. And generally, they'll be able to give you some kind of concrete or ballpark number. And that's effectively what you should be aiming for in terms of your CPA, is to think of how much is this lead or how much is this sale worth to you. And based off of that, that's how you should be targeting your AdWords campaigns, how you should be bidding accordingly. And so you'll see that depending on how valuable a sale is to you, you can begin to get a lot more aggressive in terms of your bidding than how much it would be, how much you would bid if it's a much cheaper product or it's a much cheaper lead.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, everybody, I hope that those questions really settled your mind for anything that was on your mind. And again, thank you to you all for joining us today and for your interest in our webinar. And definitely stay tuned into WordStream for all of our resources to help you get started in paid search and continue to be profitable in it. And a massive thank you to my friend Mark here for always sharing his insight and being super helpful to advertisers across the board.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.